Hey there, welcome to Chem Eng Weekly. There are some great videos out there on the internet explaining how to fill an SAQ or a Supplementary Application Questionnaire for Cambridge for candidates. So for this reason, we are not going to spend too much time on all of the sections, but we'll be focusing more on the specifics that will set you apart in terms of chemical engineering. So let's dive in. In total, there are 8 key sections, with these sections being application type, photograph, personal details, BMAT number, education, qualifications, additional information, and submit. Numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, and 8 are pretty self-explanatory, so we won't be going into detail there, but the ones we will be focusing on are the education and the additional details. And some of the other sections that we've skimmed over, you may not even have to fill them in, such as the BMAT number, given it's very unlikely you've set the BMAT being a chemical engineering applicant. So the first key thing within the education section is knowing whether you need to submit a high school transcript. And to check on this, you can go to the Cambridge website and check on the flowchart for do I need to submit a transcript. Another part of the education section that is very important for all candidates is the question of whether you can study all the subjects you wanted to study. This is important because the Cambridge Chemical Engineering course, it is recommended that you study physics, chemistry, maths, and if possible further maths, which pretty much chooses 3 out of 4, if not 4 out of 4 of the options for you at A level. So if you are unable to study any of these for any reason, such as not getting the grades at GCSE, your school not offering them, or any other reason, you should be sure to include this because it will give a context to your application. The next most important section within the education section is the current subject studied section. It's a little table you have to fill out, and it's important to fill it out properly because this could well determine what sort of questions you're asked at interview. It's pretty self-explanatory, with you just picking on the drop-down menu your GCSE, A-level, Scottish Higher, Nationals, etc, and filling in what exam board and when you got the qualification or when you are doing the qualifications. So that will be able to give the university information it needs on what subjects you're studying and what topics you've studied out of them. When filling in what topics you've studied out of them, although you only have limited space, they do split it into Year 12 topics and Year 13 topics, and it's vitally important that you fill in the Year 12 topics exactly as you've studied them, and Year 13 topics you should not include anything you've not studied, because there is a chance that anything you put onto the table here could crop up at interview, so you don't want to put yourself through the tension of writing down a subject that you've not studied and are not going to study in the table and then having to rush around in the last minute trying to learn it for your interview because of the chance it might come up. Do not try to use this as a chance to try and impress your university interviewers, because ultimately as a candidate they're more interested in what you can do rather than what you supposedly know. And the last important part of the education section is significant disruption to your studies, and given how the COVID pandemic has affected everybody, you should definitely use this as an example to explain how COVID has disrupted your studies and any other disruptions you've had, and why this may significantly impact your application. Next, the additional information section. Now, this is important on 2 accounts because it includes 2 important sections that could impact your application. The first of which is an additional personal statement. You are given 1200 characters to explain your motivation for picking Cambridge and specifically the Cambridge course. So you should utilise this to explain why the Cambridge course is attractive to you and draw attention to how, if you're doing it via NatSci, it gives you the opportunity to study, for example, material science or a different module you find interesting. And if you're studying engineering, it gives you the time to appreciate general engineering principles before going into chemical engineering. It will also give you an opportunity to mention anything you didn't get a chance to mention in your reference and your personal statement, such as if you attended a Cambridge masterclass or if you read a specific book by a professor and you really enjoyed it and learnt a lot from it. Although it is optional and may not actually affect your application, if you do have anything to say, I would definitely say think about it before you write it down, because it could impact your application in a positive way if you do it correctly. So if you have anything that you've done on top of your application to the time you're going to submit your SAQ 7 days after the October 15th deadline, make sure to include it. This can include anything such as a presentation you gave, or a lecture you attended, or a new supercurricular activity you took on. And the second part of this additional information section that is important is anything you want Cambridge to know. So here you have 600 characters to let Cambridge know anything you think might significantly impact your application and therefore gives a bit more context to your application. Finally, after going to your submit and reviewing all the sections of your application, you are now done with the SAQ. Thank you for watching the video. Be sure to like it if you enjoyed it and leave your comments and suggestions down in the comment section below. Don't forget to follow us on our social media channels, and if you click here or here, you can watch another one of our videos. Click up here to subscribe, and thank you very much.